If this boy tried something like this in the 1980s, he'd be out the house or he'd be in a body bag. Coming to paperback and e-readers, from the author of the critically acclaimed book The Man Crisis comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women are becoming lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Pre-order your copy of The Woman Crisis on Amazon.com today. A single mother recently presented a viral video on TikTok showing the aftermath of her 12-year-old son destroying her home in a rampage after she took his cell phone as a punishment. Now, I'll let you take a look at the video before I go into my commentary.
Take the baby bag. Mercy. Oh my God. Oh my God. Explain this to my job. Explain to my job. Oh God.
Now, this black single mother is devastated at the fact that her son has basically destroyed her home in an incredible Hulk-like rampage, but I'm not fazed by the devastation of this home because I've seen this kind of devastation presented with beta male behavior when I was doing my research for my book, The Man Crisis. And what you see here in this video is something I talk about in a chapter of the book called Beta Male Anger and another chapter called Beta Male Rage. And this is what happens when you have a boy who has been raised in a home with a female authority figure, and because that female authority figure has not really formed an emotional bond with this boy due to her putting him in daycare or putting him with other relatives, what happens with this boy is, one, he does not bond with his mother, and two, he does not learn how to respect authority figures, because the mother is the first teacher, and as the first teacher, she has to teach the boy how to respect authority. Unfortunately, since this mother was too focused on her job, what happened was this boy was not taught critical lessons in his early age on how to respect authority figures, including herself. Now, this single mother, as I see it, was basically one of those women who was really focused on making money and making her job her main priority. And she shows this later on in the video where she says, "How am I gonna explain this to my job?" Showing me that this woman had more of an emotional connection to her job than she had with her son. And as a result of her having an emotional connection with her job that was closer than her relationship with her son, what happened was her son went out here and formed an emotional bond with an inanimate object like a cell phone. And I see that sort of symbiotic behavior similar to the Venom symbiote from the Spider-Man comics and people with their cell phones, how basically they form an emotional bond with this device because that device connects them with the world, and they are more connected with this device and the internet that allows them to access than having an interpersonal and a personal relationship with their parents. And that's what happened here due to this mother being so focused on her job. And because she was so focused on her job and made her job her life, this boy never got the life lessons he needed as related to him growing up to become a healthy young man. So the first lesson a mother teaches in a healthy home environment is she teaches that boy to respect her authority, and then after she teaches him to respect her authority, she then teaches him how to respect male authority. Unfortunately, since this boy, again, was possibly shuttled off to daycare or shuffled off to childcare from other relatives, he never learned any sort of lessons as related to respecting her as a mother. And because he never learned how to respect her as a mother, he simmered and boiled in anger. And because he didn't respect her as an authority figure, what he did was, after this mother decided to finally punish him, she wound up exploding in a rage. Now, this whole tearing up this home was a rage explosion because, again, she had severed the bond to the device that had connected him to people who he had more of an emotional connection to. And what he did was he wanted to get even with his mother, and he wanted to hurt his mother in the exact same way he felt hurt when that connection to his cell phone and the world was severed from him. So I'm looking at this boy's behavior, and he basically went on an incredible Hulk-like rampage, basically smashing up his own home. I mean, this boy broke a marble counter. He broke a porcelain toilet. I mean, and smashed mirrors, broke televisions, broke furniture. I mean, this boy went into an incredible Hulk rage. And again, the reason why he exploded in that rage was due to the dysfunctional way this single mother basically raised him. And she really, as I see it, didn't even raise him. He was basically warehoused from one place to the other, never given any sort of discipline, never given any sort of structure. And on having to deal with the first authority figure actually telling him what to do, he basically lost it. Because this is what happens with your beta males when they are, again, in these households with these single mothers. The mothers warehouse these boys. They don't have relationships with them, and they sit there and they don't have relationships with them. And this is what makes them detached and disconnected from reality and disconnected from those who are in authority. Now, there are some that would sit there and say, oh, this boy had some sort of disability, and this is why he acted out like that. And I call bullshit on that, because I grew up in a home with a disabled sister for 58 years, And my mother asserted authority in that relationship with my disabled sister until she passed away, and she was able to get her behavior in line. So this doesn't have anything to do with the boy's disability. No, this has to do with this boy not being raised by this single mother to respect authority. And this goes back to something the late great David Carroll talked about in many of his classic videos about these single mothers. And he oftentimes talked about how these single mothers will go out here and brag about how they can raise a boy to become a man, and they believe that in this feminist ideal that a woman can raise a boy to be a man. But when we look at this 2-minute TikTok video, we clearly see that the single mother can't raise a boy to become a man, and she can't raise him to become a man, because we see that with this woman, yes, she was able to control this boy, possibly by warehousing him and sending him off. And now that this boy has gotten older and he has gotten taller than her, he has gotten a deeper voice, he has gone out here and is now challenging her authority, because what adolescents do at 11 and 12 years old is they start challenging the boundaries that their mothers make as related to their authority. And because many women are emotional, they coddle their sons, they don't understand that they're being challenged, because this is part of him growing up. And because this woman doesn't understand that boys are going to challenge the boundaries, and the way you deal with that boy is by pushing back and letting them know where the line is. Many of these women, what they do is they get frustrated and overwhelmed. And I talk about this in depth in my book, The Man Crisis, on how these boys, when they go out here and they push these boundaries, what these single mothers do is they wind up either going out here and denying that there's a problem, or they go out here and they just go out here. That's the ones who deny, just go, my baby ain't hurt nobody. The other ones, what they do is they just tune out anything that happens with the boy, and they'll sit there in a filthy mess like this and act like nothing happened. And then there are those who get so overwhelmed in their emotions that they wind up completely shutting down. And this whole case with this single mother, she looks like she's going to be the one to throw herself into her job, because she's talking about, oh, I don't know how I'm going to explain this to my job. So she's going to be one of those ones who denies the problems as related to this already exploded time bomb that's going to turn into a nuclear disaster, because this boy, again, has never been taught to respect any sort of authority at home, due to the way that his mother has possibly shipped him off to different places and never really raised him to respect her as an authority figure. So this boy is he's already gone nuclear and destroyed her home. So he's going to explode in another rage. And when he explodes in another rage, I fear for this boy's life, because when you're dealing with beta males like this, they tend to go out here and try, after challenging the female authority figure and wreaking havoc like this, he's going to take himself into the streets, and he's going to start looking to challenge male authority figures. And this is the place where young black boys like this one wind up getting themselves jammed up bad, because when they start challenging male authority figures like one of these Pookies or these Ray Rays, that's when they're going to either get a cap put in them, or if they run into one of these police officers, they're going to put a bullet in his back. And she's going to be the same one crying, my baby ain't hurt nobody, why the police had to do this, Black Lives, and talk about bringing in Black Lives Matter, when the problem is right here with the way this woman raised this boy. And because this boy, again, has never been taught to respect the boundaries at home, he's going to take his behavior out into the street, and he's going to take his behavior out into the street. And again, either challenge one of these dudes on the block, or he's going to go out here and go in one of these stores or go out on the street starting something, and he's going to run into one of these police officers or one of these store owners, and he's going to wind up being sent to the shadow realm. And again, this mother is sitting here not understanding the danger that this boy is in as related to his life, because he's sitting up here tearing up homes over a cell phone, not understanding that, yeah, your mom might be compassionate in this situation when you angry like this over a cell phone, but in the real world, they ain't gonna play with you on these streets out here. If you call yourself going on a rampage with one of these other guys, again, this boy is on the road to catching a bullet, either from Pookie and Ray Ray or one of the dudes on the block, or he's on the road to getting popped by a cop. So those are the two roads that this boy is headed on if he does not get arrested or sent to the penitentiary or the juvenile hall, where he'll try to pull this rampage on bigger guys in the penitentiary, and they're gonna turn him out for with Bubba and Tiny, and they're gonna be trading this boy for Little Debbie snack cakes. Because again, these tough guys, they're tough in the street and they're tough with mama, but then when they get into that juvenile hall, that penitentiary, and they're getting traded for ramen noodles, cups of coffee, Kit Kat candy bars, Ninja Turtle pies, I mean, all Crystal Light. It's not going to be a good road for this boy. And again, it's due to the way that he is raised to be dysfunctional from day one. Because for a boy to go on a rampage like this basically tells me this boy has never been taught how to respect his mother as an authority figure, and he's never been taught any sort of order or discipline for an extended period of time. And that's why he's formed this emotional bond with this cell phone, and that's why he went berserk, because the cell phone got taken away. This is behavior your child should have gotten over back when they were 6 years old, when they had an attachment to a toy, and once mama took the toy away to punish them, eventually they learned to behave in a way that allows them to be able to play with their toys. I mean, this is behavior that I got over when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and sadly we have a 12-year-old boy who is stuck in a state of arrested development because his mama did not go out here and develop his life skills and survival skills to be able to learn how to cope with a punishment of having your cell phone taken away. Now, as a kid who grew up in the 80s, I had lots of different things taken away from me when I was a little boy if things weren't going right. I mean, I had my Atari 5200 taken away. I've had all sorts of games I've had taken away, like my Pac-Man. And yeah, you would go out here and cry about it and be upset about it, but you would never think to put hands on your mother's property. No, the reason why I never went out here and wanted to destroy my mother's property is because I learned how to respect my mother's authority. And again, that's taught early on by the mother, because the mother is the one who teaches authority. Now, the other problem with this whole Rampage video is I have to ask the critical question, where is the father? Because any home where there is a father in the home, ain't no boy gonna be allowed to tear up no home like that, because that father, like I talk about in the Man Crisis, when he sees his boy stepping over boundaries to test the line, what the father is going to do is he is going to assert his physical authority to hold the line on the boy. And when he holds the line on the boy, this is going to set order in the home, and it's going to let the boy know where the line is. And if he decides to act out, he will understand that if he acts out in the home, there will be a male authority figure there to go out here and punish this boy. Now, it's clear to me that there was no father in the home because this boy felt like, oh, I can go out here and tear up my own home because I'm mad at mama. And this boy had, again, no regard for his mother. He had no regard for his little sibling because there was a baby's furniture in the home. So this mother has already raised one dysfunctional male, and she's on her way to raising another child to become as equally dysfunctional as her son. And again, for a boy to get this berserk over a cell phone, again, that has to do with the dysfunctional way this boy is raised by his mama, because a mother who truly cares about her son, she's going to form a bond with that boy so that he's not bonding with a inanimate object like a cell phone, and he's sitting up there upset because he can't connect with strangers online and he can't connect with media online. This is a result of what happens when a boy is raised by a single mom under your feminist principles, and when she's raised in a home with feminist principles, she is more loyal to the state and her job than she is to her family and her home. She'll sit there and say, oh, it's somebody else's fault. No, it's her fault because, again, she's more loyal to the state and her home. And I go in depth on this in my upcoming book, The Woman Crisis, which you can pre-order right now. And in that book, I talk about how these women are just so wedded to their job and so submitted to their bosses that they're not concerned with their family. And as a result of them not being connected to their family, their children grow up like stalks like this, and we have a 12-year-old boy who has now become one of these children of the corn, and this child of the corn has basically grown up to become a wild stalk that has basically uprooted an entire home to the point where he has smashed concrete like the Incredible Hulk. I mean, it meant to say marble. He smashed marble, and a rock piece of marble is incredibly hard, but this boy smashed marble. He smashed mirrors. He smashed televisions. He smashed a porcelain toilet, and again, tore down a refrigerator, ripped out an oven. I mean, this is behavior that if a grown man did this, he would be in prison with a felony, and he would be locked up. If he did this as a grown man, he would be in jail right now, and he would be indicted on serious felony charges. But because this is a boy, the mother is sitting up there crying about her son, not understanding if she doesn't get this behavior in line, she's going to be crying at a funeral home, and she's going to be possibly crying at that funeral home, not about this boy's passing, but she's going to be crying about this boy because she'll know that she completely failed this boy, and she would be the one responsible for failing this boy because she was the one who bought into these feminist ideas. Oh, I can raise a boy to be a man, but all we see presented here from the aftermath of this video is that what happens is when your feminist indoctrinated single mothers raise boys, they raise boys to become men in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to boys becoming dysfunctional like this, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also pick up The Man Crisis on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to learn why mothers like this become dysfunctional like this, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com by pre-ordering the digital copy. And if you want a paperback copy, it'll be coming on November 29th. November 29th is where The Woman Crisis is coming out. And if you want to pick up a copy in paperback, you can pick it up on November 29th. So if you want to see me make more videos like this, where I talk about men's issues. You can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.